Hi, I'm Maya from Bookworm Dreams and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to talk about all the books that I've read while on my vacation. So this year I went on a 2-week vacation where I basically spent time reading and swimming, and that's pretty much it. I'll talk about the books that I read chronologically. So officially I've read 10 books. I say officially because unofficially it's 15. 4 of which I do not want to put on my Goodreads because they're total shit, but I'll tell you about it here. And 1 which I mostly skimmed, but I consider read because, you know, you'll hear about it when I get to it. First, let's talk about the first 4 unofficial reads. So, before I went on vacation, I came upon this paranormal romance novella series called But Did You Die? The title itself is very intriguing and sounds like fun. So in this story we follow a phoenix shifter who survives a plane crash, and she saves these 5 hot guys who turn out to be jaguar shifters, who were basically an elite military team who were sent on a mission to find this mysterious phoenix shifter to, you know, bring her or him to this, like, let's say, military compound, right? The names of these novellas always start with klutz because our phoenix lady is she's a klutz, basically, and she dies in many various ways, which are mostly funny. And that's why I actually kept reading the series. And she, because she's a phoenix, she, you know, comes back to life, always naked, always in funny situations and whatnot. So the names of these books are Phoenix Down, Phoenix Heat, Phoenix Secrets, and Phoenix Revenge. There's one more, but I DNF'd at Phoenix Revenge because I just couldn't handle it. The problem with this series, first of all, the first one is a bully romance. It's also a White Shoes series. First one is a bully romance because when the 6 of them find themselves on this, they're like in the Amazon jungle and whatnot. The guys are so horrible to her. I mean, they're just so mean, and she saved them, and they're like, I don't give a shit. We're trying to, you know, go to civilization to save themselves. And they are so mean to her, and she keeps dying in like various ways. She once inhales a fly and then suffocates and dies. Then I think she gets eaten by piranhas at one point. She you know, dies in the crash when the plane fell down the first time. I mean, it's just so many ridiculous ways that she dies, but the guys are very mean to her, and just like 1 or 2 are sort of paying attention to her and are building sort of a romance. Yeah, they're just shit to her immediately. And it turns out that, of course, she's their mate and whatnot. And it's just, it's ridiculous. The second one continues on with her, I think, being kidnapped by another a military company or something, and, you know, they want to do experiments on her because they have a whole group of supernatural creatures that they do experiments on, and there she finds another mate and a third mate and whatever. I mean, it's just, first of all, it's badly written. If you think of any kind of shitty fanfic that you read of your favorite ship, that's it. It's just, it was just awfully written. The characterizations were bad. The villains were so over-the-top evil and just totally stupid, and I kept listening to the audiobook and rolling my eyes, and it was just fucking horrible. The main character herself is sort of a Mary Sue, you know, everybody immediately loves her when they meet her, and apparently Phoenix has 7 mates, which I think in a White Shoes romance is a bit much, but whatever. It's just, it was an interesting idea, and there was a bit of humor in it, but the execution was really bad, and I gave up at book 4 because I just couldn't handle it anymore. It was just awful. Just avoid it, is my review of this paranormal romance. So to sort of cleanse my palate of this awfulness, I decided to read a romance that I've heard a lot about from Ava and her channel Ava Romance Books. And she's been talking about this book that came out quite recently called Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. And this is a contemporary romance in which we follow Winnie and Bo, and both of them have this meet cute at a Halloween party. They have a one-night stand, and Win becomes pregnant, and the 2 of them decide to co-parent, and, you know, we sort of follow as their relationship grows from this moment on. What makes this romance special? First of all, it's fucking fantastic. Everyone go read it. I don't read contemporary romance all that often, but this one is just so So good. And I will leave the link to Ava had live show with another friend and the author about this book, and it's just an hour and a half of them gushing about the book because it's so good. So basically what makes it so good is that both characters have some sort of physical impediment. Is that how you say it? So they met at a whole Halloween party, and people keep thinking that they have a pair costume because both of them were pirates. Now, Wynn had a hook arm because one of her arms is underdeveloped, and Bo had do you call that a peg leg, because he lost his leg to cancer. And so when they meet, they immediately sort of start bantering, and this bantering and conversation and constant communication sort of travels throughout the entire story, and it was just so good. It's just such a fun story to read, and it's very touching, and there were some really cool moments. The smut is fantastic, and it's just such a fantastic romance. Also, there isn't any unnecessary drama, which I really appreciated. There wasn't like, third act breakups and whatnot. I love that, so that was great. Then I read Small Miracles by Olivia Atwater. This is part of my Reddit Fantasy Bingo Challenge, and also part of my William TBR. So basically this is a story in which we follow a fallen angel. I forgot the name. The name is Gadriel. And they have to convince this holy woman to sort of be more selfish and to sin more. And when the book starts, it sort of starts in a very, like, I want to say, I call that British humory way. Like, if you've ever read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and Discworld by Terry Pratchett, it has a specific sort of humor that I find in British authors. I'm not even sure if Olivia is British. I have to check this out. So I don't really gel with that kind of humor. Sometimes, I don't really like it. And I was a bit worried when I started reading the book that I would be like, ugh, whatever. That, I wouldn't really have strong feelings about it. But it turns into a story about grief because Holly is taking care of her young niece after the death of her mother and Holly's sister. And, she's having a hard time dealing with her niece because, she just lost her mother and she's not dealing with it very well. And then Gadriel is sort of thrust into their lives and causing a bit of chaos. And it's really fantastic. It was fun. And just the last third of it was really good when the stakes got a bit higher with the appearance of another heavenly connected creature that is there for completely opposite reasons than Gadriel. So yeah. Anyway, I liked it. It was fun. Then I read Grim Space by Anne Aguirre. That's what they said on the audiobook, Aguirre. So this is part of my 2000 and 2023 reading challenge, also part of my Aurelium TBR. Basically in this, it was supposed to be a fun space opera thingy where we follow a female character. She has this power of traveling through grim space, which makes traveling through space faster and easier, I guess. But it was so... I didn't like the main character at all, because she was very, I'm so awesome the entire time. And at the beginning when we find her, she's in so much trouble because she's about to be accused of, like, not treason, but doing some horrible crime stuff because her last jump ended in catastrophe. But she's just so unlikable, and she's just so, she talks about herself in the third person sometimes. And whatever. And she's also not very active in the plot. She's basically, her whole role is to be this driver person. And she's sort of been dragged from one place to another to, like, do stuff. And you don't know what the stuff is that they're supposed to be doing because everything is so confusing. I didn't really like this book because, as I said, plot was confusing. I have no idea what the fuck is going on. She just, so our main character sort of gets busted out of jail by this person to go form an academy of, like, people like her who can travel through space because, it's not like everywhere has this ability or whatnot. The entire time I'm filming this, I'm petting my dog here because apparently now he wants attention now that I have to do stuff. Yeah, the world building wasn't really well done. The characters were awful. Like, every conversation that our main character had was so info-dumpy. And it was just, and everything felt a bit stilted and not, there wasn't any, like, natural flow to the conversation. And don't get me started on the romance. It's just fucking so confusing. I have no idea what's happening. I didn't enjoy this at all. So yeah, I was so excited for this one because I thought it would be really really cool, but it wasn't. So yeah. Then to, again, cleanse my palate of this horrible book, I read romance. So I read Power Plays and Straight A's. This is a male-male hockey college romance. This was written by Eden Finley and Saxon James. Basically, we follow Foster and what's the dude's name? Zach. So Foster is like, you know, the hockey star and whatnot, and he's been asked by his younger brother to help his friend Zach, who's now moved to his college, I think to work on his doctorate, because he starts college to also go to classes and to work as a TA for one of the psychology professors. Foster is sort of in charge of helping Zach have a normal college experience, because Zach is really awkward with people. He doesn't get people, and he spent basically most of his first part of his college career just studying and not hanging out with people. So this is a romance of them like doing the typical college stuff and having fun. But also I like, because Zach has problems with people, he also doesn't really understand some of the things that Foster does. Like, you know, sending messages to like check in and you know, taking them out on dates. So he needs a lot of explanations and conversations. And that's what happens through the entirety of the book, which I really appreciated. So yeah, so that one was a good one. And I'm going to continue on with the series. Then I read The Last Astronaut by David Wellington. This is actually something I read on the beach. Took me a couple of days, whatnot, but I finished it. So this is a really cool space horror thriller thingy in which we follow this lady, and her name is, oh my god, Sally, right. So Sally used to be an astronaut, and one of her latest missions went wrong. We find out in the first chapter. It was so good, it was so tense. So some time has passed after this, and now an alien ship rock thingy is coming into Earth's solar system, and she's sent with three other people, because there's four of them on a crew, to go and communicate with this rock space thing, whatever, this alien thing that's hurling towards Earth. And when they start their journey, they're sort of they have a rivalry with a privately owned space company that sent their own crew. And where the story kicks off, the privately owned space crew gets to the alien thingy first, and they go inside, and they're not heard from. So they go and rescue them, and then stuff happens. I can't tell you because it's spoilery, but I had a really fun time reading this. This is a really cool space horror thriller, and yeah, I am going to check out more stuff from this author because this was fun. Then I started reading The Elven Alliance by Tara Grace. Now here's the thing with this. So I found this before I went on vacation, and I got the books, put them on my e-reader, and was like, oh, it's gonna be like a fantasy romance that I can read like between other stuff that I want to read, like a palate cleanser or whatnot, because I thought they were a bit smaller than they are. Turns out, which I found out on book 3, it only says in the book 3 of the summary on Goodreads that this is a clean romance series. Now, for you who don't know, clean means no sex, no, nothing. It's like at the end of book 1, our main couple was holding hands. That's how clean this was. So, we follow Essie, who is human, and she sort of enters this arranged marriage with an elf warrior dude to sort of foster better relations between the Elven Kingdom and the humans, because there was a war before, like 10 years before that, and there are sort of skirmishes that happen on and off. Besides that, the elves are at war with the trolls. They come into the series in the later books. So I read 3 books of this, and I've skimmed the 4th one. So I read the first one called Fierce Heart, because I was into the whole arranged marriage idea and the fact that it's a grumpy sunshine pairing. And I really, really enjoyed it, that one. That one was fun because we had angst because Essie was trying to adapt to the elven culture, and her husband's family was not helping at all. They were very, I don't want to say dismissive, but they ignored her, and so she had sort of trouble, making friends and trying to find her role in this, new life. Her husband was not helpful at first because, he's all mysterious and he's their legendary warrior, even though he's very young for elven standards. But, so he has trauma from the previous troll war, and yes, troll war. And, he's now stuck with this chatty human that is bringing chaos into his life. And whatever, they work it out. The first book was entertaining enough that I was like, oh, let's read the second one. Because I was having hope for like smut scenes, like, you know, later on. But, you know, in the second one, oh God, it's called something Wind. No, Warbound. It's called Warbound because, you know, the war. In the second one, we get plot. We get like world building. We get like the political intrigues and plots from humans and elves, and, you know, how they're basically elements in both kingdoms working against each other to sort of start a war for, you know, profit and shit as you go. And you have Essie and her husband like domestically like doing stuff and working on building this relationship and whatnot. And you meet some other characters in this one, mostly Essie's family, her brothers, and, you know, how they mesh with her in-laws, the elves and stuff. So yeah, that one was more or less okay, you know, because, you know, you had some plot to follow. Then the third one, Death Wind, just, it goes on and on. But the thing was, I was here for the romance. We get the romance, but we get, like, chaste stuff. I mean, I think in the third one, they started giving each other, like, cheek kisses and what? They started kissing at one point, I think, as well. So I was like, what the fuck is happening here? Then I read the summary on Goodreads. It's like clean romance. I'm like, oh, seriously? I like my romance. It's a bit smutty. That's what I'm saying. I was looking forward then to the fourth book, The Troll Queen, because it was supposed to be angst, but like here. Because, oh my God, I'm gonna spoil stuff a little bit. So, one of the books, in the third war, at the end of the second one, our elf warrior dude gets betrayed by his sister to the trolls, because the elf warrior dude killed the troll king, whatever, in the war. So the both of them are then taken to the troll prison and tortured and whatnot. So at the end of book 3, the sister who betrayed the elf king is to be married to the troll dude, the surviving troll dude. So, you know, they can work on the relations between their two respective kingdoms and whatnot. And it was going to be so good. It was supposed to be so good, but the fourth one wasn't, because we kept focusing on Essie and the elf dude. And elf dude wants to go to college, doesn't want to go to college to, like, learn stuff. He's traumatized from his time in the dungeon. Okay, I get that. And they're, like, working on healing and stuff, but I want to read about the elf and the troll. And it would be so good if there was a bit of smut, because there was antagonistic feelings between the both of them, and she's trying to work through her feelings of betraying her family, and it was supposed to be so good, and it wasn't, and I skimmed most of it to get to the troll parts, to the interesting parts, and not like read like fucking training montages and him working in a workshop with some human inventor dude. Oh God. So that's the fifth one that's like unofficial, like I read it, didn't read it, but yeah. So that was the series I kept reading. I just kept complaining to my sister that I'm reading like stupid domestic stuff, and I don't want to read stupid domestic stuff. I want to have angst and like passion and whatnot in my romances, and that wasn't it. So again, to clean my palate of this awfulness and frustration, I read Blood Moon by Gillian Graves. Now this is this short novella in which we follow, oh my God, I don't know anybody's name. So Gillian Graves wrote a book called Titan, in which we follow a romance between a gargoyle and a woman, and this gargoyle dude has brothers and whatnot, and they all live in this like a world where the supernatural is hidden. So Blood Moon follows like two factions, I guess, in this supernatural world. We follow a witch whose name escapes me right now, and a vampire called Vlad. That's the one I remember because it's Vlad the vampire. So the witch, oh my God, what's her name? Oh, whatever. So she has this bar where, you know, a lot of supernatural creatures comes to, you know, congregate and hang out and whatnot. And she's sort of having trouble with her bar because across the street there's a new club that's opened. And later we find out Vlad is the dude that opened the club and whatnot. He's the manager of this club. And she's like all annoyed because, you know, the club has very aggressive advertising stuff that they're doing to take away her customers. So she's all like frustrated and whatnot, and she goes to this party, and there she hooks up with this vampire dude. And it was so good. It was so good. And, you know, when she finds out that, you know, he's the dude from across the road, it starts this sort of harmless, I don't want to say antagonistic relationship. See, when English is your second language, they're adversaries, so that would make it an adversarial relationship, I think. Anyway, you know, where they're both basically both sort of spying on each other and their clubs, you know, and there's of course some plot of Vlad's like backers being very bad guys and whatnot, trying to destroy the witches' bar and whatnot, and he's like, I'm not doing that. And you know, basically they work together to bring down the bad guys, basically, and they have, you know, lots of sex while doing that, and it was fun. It was I had such a great time that I read it one night and then read it the next day, because I was like, oh my god, this is good, this is what I wanted on my vacation reads. And the last book I'm going to talk to you about that I finished, this I started like before and finished it on vacation, and that is The Malevolent Seven by Sebastian de Castell. So in this one we follow a wizard who basically is now a mercenary and selling his gifts that he gets with help of the demonic people in this world, you know, to the highest bidder, and they go around doing stuff. So in this world that Sebastian de Castell created, we have humans. Some humans have power. These powers come from like the angel version of this world and the demon version of this world. And the wizards are sort of attuned to different kind of, I don't want to say multiverse, but other dimensions, right? One of the dimensions has the angels and other dimensions has the demons. And there are like a million other dimensions because, you know, there are different kinds of wizards with different kinds of power. So at the beginning of the story, we follow our main wizard guy, whose of course name escapes me right now. It's something like Cade. He is offered by his demon contact this job to go help destroy like a righteous brotherhood which are protecting like this village. And to do that, he needs to have a coven of 7 witches. And throughout the story, we follow Cade as he collects this coven in a very interesting way to go and deal with this job. I really enjoyed this fantasy series. This is book 1, I'm guessing, in a series. And I'm going to continue on because I do enjoy Sebastian de Castell's writing, but I do enjoy his characters. And this is different if you've read like his Musketeer stuff. Oh my god, now everything escapes me. Traitor's Blade and the Greycoats series, because our characters are not good people. They are morally grey and, you know, morally black, you know, and they, but our main character, Cade, he is the bad guy, but there are some lines that he won't cross, and there are some things that he has a bit of idealism from his previous job and from his previous life that's sort of stuck, and that he is, you know, he can't really fight, and it really creates a very interesting conflict inside him and inside his group of friends. Because, you know, they're like, well, fuck this, I don't want to help. And he's like, but we kind of have to help because, you know, the world might be ending and whatnot. It's just so good. It was so fun. Such a fun read. And I'm looking forward to the sequel to this. It's just awesome. If you get the chance, please do pick it up. So that's everything I've read. Those 2 weeks on vacation were awesome. I basically did nothing but read and go to the beach. And as you can see, I read a bunch. If you have read any of the books that I have mentioned, and you want to share your thoughts, please do so down below in the comments. If you want to share the favorite book you've read on vacation this year or on vacation ever, you can do that as well in the comments. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and you can press the bell button to get notifications for new videos. There are some links in the description box for you to check out. And that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!